going to go pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
promised myself if we ever had Jeff Harper on here, I would not show up without some whiskey. They're just absolutely, I'd be embarrassed.
Yeah, I mean, he's from Kentucky, right? Kentucky
Hey, man,
Derby and all that.
When he got made president or whatever, the first thing he did was give everybody a gift, and you open your little gift packet. That's a little baby bottle of Jim Beam
That's great.
for everybody.
Yeah.
We got Jeff Harper. What's up, buddy?
Hey, cheers.
In honor of the Kentucky man himself.
Yes.
Happy.
Going back to my Malazai days, man, I think right about the time Allied was getting started, Ralph was starting everything up. Early days over there, focused on bill pay. Then we really built a lot together on picture pay, which was cool at the time, man. I got to live through the mobile deposit phase. All the banks are like, how do we take the picture of the check thing, you know? And then when picture pay, when Ralph and Allied built that, this is just a picture of a bill. And everybody's like, I get it. Cool. And then P2P and all the other stuff. So it's been really cool to see all the evolution.
Yeah, they've been on the front page and front lines of a whole lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Just give you a quick background, because you and I've known each other probably for the last 5 to 8 years or something. But my career started back in Virginia. I grew up in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia and went to a school called James Madison University. But my background in formal schooling was I was a public accountant. So I had an accounting degree, but was a frustrated sales and marketing guy. But I stuck with the accounting through the years. But started my first company while I was in college. It was called Campus Idea. So we were selling stuffed mascots. Our school was a bulldog, and so I created the first a bulldog, and that's really where I learned a lot about banking, believe it or not. So I needed to find a local bank, and so this ties into my career. So back when I was 21 years old, and just experiencing life at a young age, realized that I found a manufacturer, but the manufacturer was in Korea. In order to do that, I needed to have a letter of credit to back that. So I had to go to the bank, learn about a letter of credit. And then they had to have a distribution channel. So we had a group to help us sell these animals. So we sold about 14,000 stuffed animals in 3 weeks. So what was unique about that story is that cash was still king there. So a lot of people had cash, but people had credit cards as well. And if you guys remember the old knuckle busters, Dave, I know you know this, where you put the credit card down and you swipe it. So here is a 21-year-old kid that had 3 merchant processing agreements with people standing there taking credit cards. So you had adults handing college-age kids credit cards, and gosh knows what we could have done with that. But so I learned a lot about local banking. So I share this story with you to kick us off today. Is that I had a banker that believed in me, and started Campus Ideas. So, but what was exciting, that launched my my career. I went from having a small business into working for PricewaterhouseCoopers out of college. It was the old Coopers of Lybrand. Did that for a couple years, and I had a client that was a small community bank, and there's a woman there, and she probably doesn't remember me now, but her name is Betsy Duke. Betsy Duke, I think, is the CEO of Wells Fargo now, but she was with this community bank that worked her way up. So that was one of the first persons I carried my compact computer in to start doing auditing work with a small community bank out of Virginia Beach. Yeah, it looked like I was carrying a sewing machine.
Yeah.
So,
his arm's a lot longer than the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's probably why I walk with a limp now. But anyhow, so I did accounting work for a couple of years, guys, and so I had some bankers, and so one of the local banks there was called Creststar Bank. I was hiring young folks to be in their commercial lending program, so we did a swap. So I went over to work and got into banking back in 1990, and was a real estate finance guy, and then a small business lender for Creststar Bank, which became SunTrust Bank, which now is Truist. The next thing I know, I went to work for PNC Bank and did that for several years. And one of my clients hired me away, and that's where my entrepreneurial / fintech career started back in probably July of 1995.
That is a great story.
That's cool.
I mean, a great story.
Yeah.
Years later, when you meet a guy like Jeff, and he's like a bag carrying, soldier's general guy, and here he is running AFT, big shot of the world. I bet he's a 4-time repeat offender client of ours at different companies. You're the guy that has been in so many banks and talked to so many bankers, and then the story you just told, wow,
That's great.
I mean, this is the guy you want to know. You want to know anything about this business from A to Z and back again, and earn it what the real word earn it means. Today, if you have a good idea, they'll give you a bunch of capital, you know. Back in the old days, for a living. And you know that guy? That's all.
Yeah.
How many years, Jeff, we were talking about this with AFT. Is it like 3 or 5 years on the board? You were there a good while, right? Before
but it depends if you're in a non-pandemic, it's normally 3 years. But yeah, you know, that it's a like 3 year
senior on the football team.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a 3 year term. And then, you know, if you're fortunate enough to go to that next step, which, you know, I've been blessed to, be president this year, then you serve for that next term for, you know, as a sort of as a past president. So it's, for me, it will be a 4-year term.
Really cool.
I think I'm probably the biggest AFT fan there is. Association for Financial Technology, AFT.web. Man, if you want to get in this business and get to know everybody, that's a good way to do it. And I you never want those days like you talked about the old days with the shoe leather, but really what it is, you're making those relationships with the bankers. And now there's a speed dial way for these companies that are bringing products into banking to get to know the right folks. You've got senior level people at the biggest outfits in the world. And then you've got, I will say, virtually startup companies in there as well. And so people can actually have a great conversation. You get distribution models and all kinds of partnerships and neat things that come from that.
That's great.
Yeah. No, Dave, I think back, personally, and how you and I met was, it's been, the years get blurry, but I'm thinking we were standing in line at Amelia Island, and I think one of us shook her hand, put our hand out to meet each other. And that's when you were explaining a little bit about FedFis and data. And so my mind started spinning because we were trying to grow BSG at the time. And we had a sales force of about 3 or 4. We didn't have distribution channels through resellers and so forth. So it was just, feet on the street, dialing for dollars, networking, and doing all that. And you were sharing your story. And I said, shoot, if I could get my hands on, all the bank's data, which I could get out of call reports, but you had some other special things that I needed to look at, who their core was and so forth. I knew who we played better with at that time. And because we were the first cloud-based discretionary overdraft program. So there were certain ones we needed to be able to get reports out of and do our stuff. And you were kind enough to, get us teed up back. I think it was 17 and built some special reports for us. And that's when we really started seeing a trajectory when I could target, better who we were going to call on. So,
okay, so let me ask you a question. And I don't know the answer to this because I don't remember what the hell he's talking about. I thought I was just pulled out of the womb and there was Jeff. I don't even remember where we met or how long.
You helped me out with our first sample, what we were looking at. I do know that. I said, hey, I want to target. And then you gave me all right, let's focus in, say, Virginia or somewhere like that. And that's when I got my hands around it. This will help us move the needle. And then
this is funny, man. And not a lot of businesses where you can do this, right? Especially with heavy solutions. But in ours, he's had this for years where he's like, whenever somebody calls up, just give them a little something to get started. Help them go make some money, and then they'll want to come back and spend more. Yeah. And everybody wants,
There's a business model here, guys. If you actually think about it, it's like this guy in a cowboy hat's not so stupid after all. So I watched a bunch of businesses, and when I worked at Shushnop, I was Shushnop, man, I was there forever. And when I got there, it was a little bitty company. We grew this thing to a monster and sold it to Thomson Reuters. Anyway, I stayed on after that, doing a bunch of work with M&A and everything. But there were a bunch of small companies that would want that distribution channel. And every time, I had a nickel for every time somebody said, can you tell me their core? Can you tell me this or that? Because you end up in a situation where the financial data is cool, but if you had this other tech stream, right? Or if you had this geographic data, or, so we put all together this data, knowing this is the launch pad for companies to actually get, the idea that you go out and you shotgun blast your product and then the leads come in and then we have to qualify this lead, this lead, and then finally find a qualified lead and then maybe you get something going. It's extremely time consuming and expensive. And if you could say, how about we just target the people that are actually qualified?
Pre-qualify the market, go after that.
And that's your marketing is actually to your qualified.
Let me tack you there because I got a question for you, Jeff. So we're starting to see, I know, look, again, a loaded question. A lot of this has been our efforts with the state associations, with bankers helping bankers, with other things, educating the banks. But we're starting to see the same thing happening with the bankers, where they're wanting to get information on products. They're wanting to pre-qualify, right? The old days, it was let's shotgun blast an RFP off to 60 vendors, right? And now it's a lot more, I think it's relationships, right? Building, who do you trust? Who do you like? Talking to their peers, sure. And then from the data side, a lot of stuff we're working on, it's what integrates with my core, what's something that's a preferred vendor of so-and-so, right? And really doing the homework and then targeting 3 or 4 to talk to. Are you guys seeing that? Is that starting to evolve in your world too?
Yeah, I think what you're seeing, it's interesting in the bill pay space, which I'm fairly new to, but I'm I think I'm catching up pretty quickly here on how to make this work. So it's a mature market, and so bill pay has been around. You guys probably know longer than I have, 10, 15 X years, and the usage numbers are dropping. People are going direct to a biller, making payments. But what's happening? There's 3 legacy bill pay providers there, and they're all good in their own right. But what's happening? Those contracts are either coming up after their first term or on their second term. And finally, because of the buzzwords about open banking and people maybe moving off those legacy mobile banking platforms as well, because that's where bill pay lives, you're starting to see more bankers being open to saying, hey, I don't need to hit the easy button and go with that legacy product. And so I'm seeing more, because there's 3 of us that play in that second tier. I think our products are all just as good, if not better, than that legacy group. Sure. So what we're seeing, though, is now if the bankers will take the time to say, let's look at this bill pay money movement, who else is out there? We are seeing, and that's where the Allieds of the world needs to get our name, our brand out there, instead of just that household name. I used to run small companies my whole career, and we had a product one time that would compete against Pitney Bowes or Xerox and so forth. And I said, nobody got fired by hiring Xerox or Pitney Bowes, but give us a shot over here, So,
let me ask you a question. So if you had to go up against, there's no hard feelings here with anybody. Everybody's got great products, not picking on anybody.
Yeah.
You had to go against the pop money or something. How would you pitch your product as opposed to that?
Against you're talking about a P2P?
They got a great bundle.
P2P there,
So,
and you also got bill pay and check free.
Allied's a single integrated solution, a bundle. And I love how Jeff would probably say it's money movement, it's not bill pay. Is that fair? And that encompasses bill pay, P2P, all of it, right?
Yeah.
So rather than everything being spread out, it's all in one. And those old contracts, I bet you that pricing is nasty. And you guys probably have a heck of a lot better item cost.
Well, it reminds me of the old days, and you know this, Dave, when Tanner probably got his first cell phone, you give him, because he had 1,000 texts to all his girlfriends out there and all these times, and you couldn't, you'd have to have a MIT degree to figure out the cell phone bill. And so now, the bill pay, what I like about the way we bring it to market, it's for a lot of our clients in the community bank space, it's a flat fee. So you don't have to have an engineering degree to read the bill. So if we quoted you X dollars per month, it's X dollars per month. And so there's not that arm wrestling and so forth. So it makes it cleaner, in my opinion, for 2 people. One, our resellers to package it up so they don't have to spend time. And then the person who's paying the bill on the back end. So that's one thing, Tanner. And Ralph, and our company is the way we built that platform out. You may not need to buy all our products today, but if you want to use our bill pay, and it's easy to turn on P2P next or A to A, or now we're in that crypto space, turn on our crypto wallet. Mm-hmm. So because it's a platform, it's not this big integration every time you buy something from Allied. So that's I think that's a differentiator when we're going against some folks in the marketplace.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I'm trying to get out of him right there.
And those point solutions, a lot of them, you get things, there's a bunch of things actually right now from others that are being sunset, right? And so you got some of these weird products off the edges that now, do I stay with them for this when they're changing out this and that? The single solution bundle of money movement's cool, especially when you're innovating and building new stuff. And I've been part of that. I'm obviously biased. I've helped build some of the Allied things, and I've sold Allied before. I love it. Yeah. And so I've seen the backside, Jeff, of what your team does. Watching after a customer is sold, the implementation process, conversions. I've actually seen Allied send people on site before for important things, make sure something goes smoothly, check in, and it's different, right? I think, and every banker knows if somebody's walking in selling you that everything's going to be perfect and smooth and you're going to love it, it's a bunch of BS. Yeah. And Allied was always very truthful about what to expect, and also they're going to come bail your ass out if we run into a jam. And they always did for me, and they always kept me clean, kept my honor clean.
I was going to
And
say,
I really appreciate it.
You mentioned something there that I've actually heard from bankers before, is that during our conversion process, their hands-on's an understatement. They'll fly, they'll do whatever it takes. We're not left out here to flip the switch, see what happens. Yeah. And those are the positives that I hear that I never get to really share back to you guys, is that, hey, you're super well respected on the way you perform after the sale.
Yeah. And that's the thing, guys. I know you have to do the demos and you have to do that piece of it, but to me, the end of the day, it's a white glove service. Like you said, but we're going to make sure we're going to present it in the best way. But once you get through that, it's, where does the rubber meet the road? And in our world, it is that white glove. And some people give that lip service. We don't, to your point, Tanner, our implementation team will go on site. And I think that's a big deal for a bill pay situation. Or this weekend, I think we're doing 4 conversions. So we're busy. And, but what I really like about our team is a lot of them have grown up in the bill pay space. Either they've grown up with a bank that had it and they implemented it there, or they may have worked for one of the other companies that have come on board.
Or been bankers like yourself, and didn't Ralph's family own?
Yeah, Ralph was a CTO of a bank, and and then our team, Kelly, our president, was president of another bill pay company early in her career. Jeff Knapp, my colleague, was with Check Free for 10, 12 years. So,
and Kelly was
we just didn't fall off your all's hate truck down there. We've been in this space,
Yes. It's cool, man. It's similar to us. I think about, we don't always have the jazziest thing that the big guys with the big budgets to waste on things, right? The latest flair, and maybe it's a marketing video or something, right? But we've got the badasses, the experts, the IP, and the people with a long history and experience that actually care. That's where we really shine. We're probably not the best at sales, but we're always the best at service, because we know what we're doing. And I think you guys are similar, man.
That's the thing. It comes down to passion. Ever since I know you guys are passionate about what you do, you're passionate about our industry. And that's what Ralph and Kelly and our team, it's like, we all got to get up in the morning, and go to work. So we better as well enjoy where we are, enjoy who we serve, and give it 100%.
Something you said a second ago about people that just sell their socks off, Mm-hmm. And literally yesterday, me and Tanner were having dinner together, and we were talking about something kind of unique about our sales group. Is we always talk about fail fast, right? The worst thing you can have is a long drawn out sales cycle, and one more thing, and then you end up not doing it or whatever. And our team is notorious for,
they're punchy.
Yeah, look, here's the deal. Take it or leave it. See you later. Bye.
No, and you know how an internal call goes, right, Jeff? And so you hop on the call. What's going on? What do you need help with? How can we be supportive, right? And it's like, well, these guys called and asked for this, and basically, I more or less kindly asked them if they're serious and sent them on their way. Like trying to get the prospect out of here, and they're like, if they call back, they're serious.
So this is great. Okay, okay. So, Mr. CEO guy, I don't get on every single sales call. I mean, I like to talk, especially support calls. I like those. I like to talk to customers all the time. But prospects, it's like when they get to a certain place, they need me or something. Sure, but generally speaking, I'm not on a lot of these things.
And we take care of customers, not prospects.
So over time, I'm on these little, weekly sales meetings, and there's pipeline and talking about everything. And I'm trying to just kind of catch up on some of this. And then I begin to tune into what the hell they're doing. And I'm like, whoa. You're kind of just scaring people away on purpose.
Yes.
And that didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me, but hey, I was wrong. It's a great thing to do.
It's weeding out people that are serious, so the sales team saves their time and focuses on the right people. And keeping in mind, Jeff, you guys are somewhat similar. We've got dedicated sales and dedicated relationship management, but we have a lot of key players that do some of both.
Yeah.
Right. And so often, if somebody wants something fairly customized, which is a lot of what we do, we'll have somebody that works through a sales cycle with them, customize it, and then they'll take care of them as a relationship manager after. So it's sort of relationship driven from front to back. And you're not just trying to sell a bag of goods, because you're going to be stuck with taking care of these guys.
I didn't be on here to talk about
That's cool. I love that.
One more thing and I'll shut up.
Yeah.
But the neat thing of everything that we kind of do, or when we come up with FinTech analytics database, or we come up with crypto database, we come up with the financial, what we call integration ecosystem, and the financial, the M&A, and all the other things that we come up together and blend all this stuff. It's new. It's not, well, we've always done it this way, right? And so you come in and say, well, here's how you ought to do it, right? Like target your qualified prospects, and it's like, okay. So there's a little bit of, we're doing something different, and that's just everything we do. It's like contact data. A lot of people are like, well, how many chief lending officers? I'm like, not how you do it, right? So everything we do things crazy different. There's a learning curve that has to go along with that. But for our team to be so, I don't know, punchy is what the word you used?
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, but there's a learning curve too on greenfield products. So for Allied, that would be like Picture Pay was, right? There's not an established market with an established budget, right? This is a bit of a greenfield new area, similar to some of the products that we have. We also have others, and you guys do too, that are very established markets. They're budgeted. You're probably going to get a damn RFP on the thing, right? But when you blend the two together, it's really cool because you can say, let me take care of what you see as your needs today and your established processes and your established customers and users, right? But here's a new way to think, a better way to do it. And we bundle all that together at a fair and reasonable price, and you can slowly begin to shift a market. That I've found is one of the best ways to really innovate. When you get down to not just the idea, but implementing the idea, if you can add things on the edges that slowly allow people to change rather than just walking up saying, hey, you need to reinvent everything you do, it's a good way to do it. And I like how you guys take that same approach.
Yeah. We've started doing that more now. And then, we're approaching over 400 clients today. So that's where we set. So
that's awesome.
Good growth rate. And you remember when it was probably,
weren't you saying you weren't one of the big guys? That's like, you're knocking on the door at 10%. That's
so, I think we've done a nice job. So what I've looked at though, and what our team is looking at is now you go back 10 or to those legacy Picture Pay clients. And when Ralph built the company, it was a product that became a company.
Yeah.
And now it's like, how do we take just the Picture Pay clients and get them into the rest of our platform? So it's the old typical cross-selling. So what do we need to do there? So we can go deeper into our base, adding that, that crypto wallet. Who knows where that's going to go, but it's certainly, there's not a boardroom in America not talking about crypto somewhere.
I love it.
So we're got our toes in that. The other place where we're spending time and energy is in the prepaid card market for, pay on demand, or not pay on demand, but people who work for McDonald's want to get pay that day. You get paid the same day.
Yep.
So putting our bill pay into that type of platform. So that's a whole new market for us. So the digital wallets like that. And
is that
getting outside of our
from your competitors? I mean, we don't have to use a nasty word like competitors, but from others, let's just say in the bill pay space, is it like it's always been in my experience? Is it still pretty old and static? There's not a lot of change. It's just kind of maintenance. Whereas you guys are building these things on the edges, that seems like a heck of an advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I think the market's going on the bill pay side. The real time is it's here now. So we're doing not only real time to the core, going through the digital banking, but real time to that biller. How do we move that payment in real time for that real time credit? That's something that we've been working on. So we've got half the equation baked. So we're really good at getting real time out of the account. Now it's getting those billers on that backside, getting those funds to them in real time and build that network out through a lot of different rails.
Is there anybody else doing, like we call it earn wage, what you're talking about?
They're anybody not in the bill, not in the, I mean, unless they're not blabbing about it like I am here, but we know that we know we've got some of the big payroll companies that will be rolling this out this year through a relationship we have. So we find that as what a great way to get into that underserved, underbanked market. So the earned wage, that's what I was looking for, Dave. So thanks for completing my thoughts there. So we think that's big. So earned wage for us it could be the hospitality industry, all those employees. It could be, the underserved banking market. So that's a big market for us. So that we think that's a good place to move. I know you guys are affiliated with a company that's starting to get into that space as well. With a card, and we're talking, we think that's an opportunity. Some people you would mutually know. So, I like that piece. So, I think the future is bright. We just got to keep our head down. Allied, we're doing a combination of channel sales and some direct sales because nobody tells the story better than we do. So we've got to get out there and make sure we get I'm a big sports guy, so we've got to get at the plate. We've got to have the swings at the bat,
Okay, real quick, tell me about that horse.
All right, yeah. So you guys know I live in Louisville, Kentucky, and we're known for three things. So horse racing is number one. So this is a piece of artwork done by a lady named Deanne here in town. So that was a horse that was running in the Kentucky Oaks several years ago. So she paints a lot of the Derby horses and so forth. So I can't tell you what that horse is, but anyhow, that's an Oaks horse. That's a female race that's run on Fridays. We're also known for baseball bats, so the Louisville Slugger.
Yes.
We got that, and as you guys well know, we're also known for some brown water. So we're known for our bourbon. So this is a Weller, so one of my favorites. So
basketball too.
We like some old Weller, yeah.
Yeah, and we do. Our basketball is depends on what color you wear. If you wear red, it's been a long year here for Louisville basketball. If you wear blue, they're doing a little better in Lexington. So
they raised some pretty good fighters out of Louisville, didn't they?
Yeah, we got a guy named Ali that has done well. I've got a picture of him. Next time we get together, we'll show the Ali one picture. But I do want to, if you give me one more second about AFT. Yeah, so AFT, we were founded in 72. So I had a call last week with John Williams, who was, I think, founder of CSI, and we spent an hour together. So John walked me down memory lane, when they started that back in 72. Phenomenal, conversation with him. And I asked him, some of these questions were fed to me by the board. And the first question was, at the first a couple of AFT summits, could people smoke? And the answer was yes. So people could smoke in the meeting room. So that was one thing, could take you back. And I said, what was the biggest technology challenge you had back in 72, 73? And it was telecommunications. I guess they were running servers at the internet and stuff was 300 baht. And then when they moved it to 15 or 1700, they thought that was huge to be able to run the ATM machines and some of the other things in the bank. So telecommunications was huge at that time. And then also AFT in the early days, Dave spent a lot of time lobbying, for the data centers and so forth, because a bank could only, use one data center, or you couldn't go out and cross state lines as well. So there's a lot of things around the 1962 Banking Act. So he was just a wealth of knowledge. So we're going to share a lot of that over the next two summits, get everybody up to speed. So 50 years of AFT.
So what got you involved in AFT from, let's call it, the political side? Why did you get in there and say, this is so cool, I want to run the damn place?
Well, I never went in with that intent. I always just, I guess, grew up, serving. My father was a politician in Virginia at the county level. So I grew up.
Grandfather, or great grandfather, the governor or something?
No, well, if he was, I didn't get invited to that inauguration. But no, my dad was he was a county clerk, but he was involved with the statewide political party. So in my early days as a kid and teenager, so I grew up a little bit in that state environment, and then had a chance to go to one presidential inauguration. So I've been around that space. So, I guess that second AFT or third AFT event I went to, I heard the people give their speeches and told their story up there, where they ran. And I thought, man, maybe I can do this. And then got involved as an ambassador. So I did that, where I, met first timers. And
so what are your plans and what are you trying to achieve during your term?
Well, the first focus was, how do we, I don't want to make too big of a deal out of it. It was the 50th. How do we tell the current members what the past was? Because I think the past tells a lot, because we've got a lot of younger members. So what was AFT built on? What was our foundation? And learn from the past presidents that are still living and get some nuggets and share that. So one of my goals is over the next two summits is let people know what the past and what got us to where we are today. And then also, what is the next 20 to 30 years going to look like? So you're going to see in Vancouver, Kara Parkey's our program chairs, futurist things. What are we seeing going to go forward? And we're going to be picking everybody's brain. What do you see, Dave, the next 5 or 10 or the next 15 years, and try to focus on the next, X year. So that's one thing. The second thing is I'm trying to raise money for the scholarship. So and thank you guys have made a contribution. So we're trying to raise, $50,000 in the 50, in our, being our 50th year. So we have 100+ members. If everybody gave $500, we'd be at our magic number. So we're going to officially kick that off. So
if I gave mine, what the hell's your problem? Get you in and help him out.
Yeah.
Help him out.
Yeah. So that's our thing. So we're trying to do that and have that war chest so we can give these scholarships back. So that's important to me. And then the other thing is we're at a crossroads. We've sold the last 3 summits out, Dave. We've got I think the last count, we've had 30 people on a waiting list. Not in the history of AFT have you had people knocking down the door to try to get into your event.
I love the history thing, man. I'm early 30s, and you would be shocked how many times, just how much of my time is spent with new entrants to the market, talking about the history book of my dozen years, right? And I was fortunate enough, my whole life, my whole life, gotten to hang out with all of you kind of guys, and so I have a good idea of the history book. But I think the fintech rush over the last 5 or 8 years. I mean, you have so many people that are here today that they think this was invented 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think that history book, the last 50 is
so
just
here's the cool thing, right? Let's go back to 1984, and everybody that was doing something then thought they were the smartest people that ever lived. Just like you think you are today. Exactly.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So, what I find interesting is, and believe me, I love entrepreneurship, and people can raise bukus of capital. God bless you. I mean, just all that's very cool. But where I think people need to spend time in a community bank or in whatever they're selling, in a credit union, so I can walk in a room and say, I've sat there, Tanner, I know what you're thinking. On the flip side, we built something I think can not only help your bank, but help your customers. And there's a 3-way win-win-win. So I think it's just important that you know who you're selling to, know your customers. And that's what you guys help with your data.
Huge.
It's just, it's a great industry. I love it.
It's really neat.
I love that.
For you to kind of go back down memory lane a little bit, especially with the past presidents, and understand what the dynamic was. There's so many times I tell stories to people of how did we get here, right? Whether it's how did you get to debit? Well, once upon a time, there was a guy that said, hey, if you build this machine, instead of coming into the bank, you could get cash right outside after hours. Yep. There's all these little evolution stories in banking of how things evolved into what they are, instead of just walking up going, look, what's wrong? You should see it, how it got there. So I think there's a really neat lesson for everybody to see and learn. Even in AFT, how did this work? How did this get there? Can you imagine trying to get the cores together in a room? I bet that was a boxing match.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was a phenomenal. I mean, John, back then, though, because they really weren't competing against each other, because they were all independently, privately held. I own Kentucky, you own Texas. And so literally, so it wasn't like, so you would get together and collaborate and say, all right, how can we be better? Because we're not competing. And then as the acquisitions and roll-ups and tuck-ins and all that stuff took place, that's when the dynamics changed. But it was just interesting, talking to Mr. Williams about how CSI was formed under his watch, and how somebody out of Lima, Ohio, I guess there's a lot of Ohio-based data centers at the time when this whole thing started. So it's just, yeah. And Tanner, you're going to like this. So on that, and then we'll let you guys go. So on Monday evening at AFT, we're having a 1970s theme. So there's going to be a lot of cool music and so forth there. So
awesome. We'll be ready for that, man.
I love it, man.
So you need to get your leisure suit out, and I don't know.
Good to go.
Yeah,
I love it.
So, guys, I could talk to you for another hour.
Hey, I'm grateful to have a time with you. Appreciate it, and thanks so much for everything that you do for the bankers, the communities, and the companies that are trying to work through this industry. It's guys like you that make it happen. Sure appreciate you riding with the Cowboys.
Hey, it's good to be with you guys. Come to Kentucky and see me.
Yes.
Yeah.